Good morning, friends and neighbors of the Hapeville channel. It's Dewey here. The last couple times I did a live streaming walk, it cut off on me. So I'm hoping that it doesn't happen this time. And I found the live button. They hid it on me. They must have changed it a couple weeks ago. But here I am. I had a pet sitting gig here on this side of town, and where I'm at now is I'm on La Vista. Specifically, I'm at the airport is right there. There is the Kimpton Hotel, Porsche. This is where Ford Motor Company used to be, and I'm on the curve at La Vista at 3393, which is an empty lot right now. And there is 3389 and 3390. You can see an airplane coming in. This huge empty lot, which I think decades ago had an apartment complex here. Is that true? But I figured what I would do is walk around this area and show you, for those of you who haven't been here for a while, show you the construction that's going on in this area. This huge townhouse complex that's happening right here where the Dixie Bowl used to be, and some other apartments. I can't remember what they're called, but those of you who were here back in the 80s, you said that they would house professional wrestlers in there. So I'm gonna walk over there, and then I'll go show you the progress over where the Dwarf House used to be. They tore the Dwarf House down, the Chick-fil-A Corporation did, and they're building a museum there, since it's the spot of the original Chick-fil-A, and we're right off Highway 75. They're trying to draw people over to the original Chick-fil-A museum. Here's number 415 right on the curve here of King Arnold and La Vista Drive. It's going to be loud over here. I woke up and it said 37 degrees, y'all. I was like, what? So here we are. We're behind where Colonial Market used to be. And this whole shopping center, there was a furniture mart there. This is all, this is J. Presso Coffee Shop, a liquor store, and a couple Latino markets, and the Lavanderia, the laundry, coin laundry there. But we're behind it. So the last 4 years that I've been here, this lot was empty, but you can see all the way down La Vista, although, is this little strip? Yeah, this is called La Vista 2. It goes right out to North Central. From here all the way down to where Wendy's is, which is where y'all, back in the 60s, you would have remembered Crystal. There was a Crystal there. And then over here, Dixie Bowl was behind it. And then there were several other businesses here, including a service station that a lot of y'all remember. I forget the man's name who opened it, but it was right there. But this has all been cleared out. And all the way down King Arnold to, what is that, Sunset? I think that's Sunset. Yeah, all of this is going to be a huge townhome complex. Oh, hi, Scott. You love hearing me say y'all. I know I say it a lot more here now. I used to say it at Disney in my job because Francis said y'all constantly. But that was just a put on. But now I say y'all, I guess because I live in Georgia. Here's number 421 King Arnold. This probably won't be a very long walk, but those of you who used to live in Hapeville seem to like these, and you'll be able to watch it on replay. I've always wondered what this little place is called Christian Church Incorporated, this tiny little building at, let me cross. And I'm like, that couldn't have been built as a church. That had to have been like a little office building. Oh, this is Louise, the corner of King Arnold and Louise. I love this little mid-century modern building. says it's a church, but I never see anybody coming in or going out. So I think it just sits there empty. Maybe that was built as a home. I don't even know. Looks like it could have been, but it seems like it would have been built more as a business back in the 50s. This complex was definitely built in the 50s. And over here you can see from a distance, this is where the original Chick-fil-A was. But they tore it down and they're building this big museum here. So folks coming down 75 going south that love Chick-fil-A, they'll be able to come here and see how the story of Chick-fil-A played out. As I get closer, you might see a little better, but up in the front where that green thing is, that represents the space where the original dwarf house was, and that tiny little structure back in the 40s had a big chimney on it. So from what I understand, the front right up there, they've created a footprint there of it's like a patio area, but they've created a footprint that is exactly where the original Chick-fil-A was, and then all the rest of that is museum. So I figured I'd come down and show you guys this, and as you can see, it's right behind where the Colonial Market used to be. But the sun is just right this morning, so I can show you guys this. Clarion Court, that's what they're called. And they stretch over across Parkview Place. But I don't know that I'll get very much of a better view. If I cross, I guess I could, but I don't want to go onto a construction site, of course. I ate Chick-fil-A this morning, and as delicious as it is, I always have like 30 minutes afterwards where I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, they're still going to call it the Dwarf House, though. Okay. There you can get a better idea of it. Here's all the museum. You see that building there? That's all museum right there. And restaurant, I'm sure, obviously. And then right here is what that green thing is. They're reproducing, let me get my finger out of there. They're reproducing this footprint because that's where the original dwarf house was, and that's where its fireplace was. Good morning, David. So there you have it. They got a ways to go, but they've done this pretty quickly, like in the since spring. They closed it down in spring. But that's King Arnold looking west, past the Clarion Apartments. That is the entrance. It's called Central Park Drive, but that used to be Meadow, and it went all the way down into the park, and that's where the Dutch Forest townhomes were, but now there are homes there. That was developed in 1996. This is Louise Street. Maybe I'll walk down Louise Street. I think I will. Because I love Radar Drive. Radar Drive down here is another little street that I'd love to live on just because of how it ended up in development. Nobody drives across except those people that live on Radar Drive. Good morning, Jim Johnson. Good morning again, David. We're walking down Louise Drive. I figured I'd come to this side of town. I had I do pet sitting services here in the Tri-Cities area, and I had a drop-in I just had to do over on La Vista, so I thought I'd walk around and share this part of town with my Hapeville friends, because I have not done that yet, this area. Hapeville's only 2.5 square miles big, half the size of what it was originally, which is a fascinating story that we all know of how this town has changed its shape and size over the years. The fact that this town is here at all, the fact that Hapeville remains, I think is a big reason why it fascinates me so much. So whenever I come down Louise Street, I always wonder what the original homes along the west side must have looked like, because they all got torn out. Or maybe the Dutch Forest came right up here, so maybe it was duplexes. But these are the houses built in what they call the Central Park area. They were built in 1996. But on the other side, the houses are still original when you get past Clarion. Here's number 3458 Louise. Look how pretty it is under these trees with just the right light. That's number 3458 Louise. Jim says, you're so close to me right now. Am I? Do you live on Louise? Here is 3456. All of the original homes on Louise. But this side, they would have had to have torn down these original houses when they built the duplexes, and they did that in the 40s, so that was a long time ago that there were any houses on the west side of Louise. 3454, I've said it before, I love when houses sit a little bit up on a hill, like they're being presented like pieces of art. So there's all these original homes, then there's one that pops up that looks like it came from the 90s, number 3450. Oh, you live in Central Park, okay. That is, in terms of Hapeville anyway, that's rather new, 30 years. Makes you wonder, because it's all original here, and then there's there's that, and then originals as we go down to Radar Drive. It makes you go, what happened to the house that was there? Could have just fallen into disrepair a long time ago, and they decided to rebuild. Could have burned. I will never know. Or maybe I will. Maybe one of you guys will know. Here's number 3442. God, I love these little American style, they're called American type they're called the American type small house because they've only got 2 rooms across the front. That's the identifying factor. But look how cute that is up on the hill. Look at that. Good morning, Janet. I was just over on your street doing some pet care, and I figured I would take a walk. Good morning, Angie. And then you can see over here, this is where my friend Jim Johnson, he lives in there somewhere, he just told me. But this whole area from the 40s forward, it was a bunch of duplexes called the Dutch Forest and Meadow Road, which is now called Central Park Drive. It was Meadow Road, and it went all the way down, and it went right through to the end of the property. It's now a turnaround in there, but you used to drive right down into the park on Meadow Drive. But when they built this complex in 96, I'm thinking that might be when they built these infill of houses over here too, because there are no 1940s houses along here anymore, but way back in the 30s there would have been. We're coming up on Radar Drive. As I mentioned, it's one of my favorite streets here in Hapeville. I love that the city, I'm assuming, but it could have been a WPA project because this is all rock that's very similar to what's in the park. But the fact that when they put Louise Street through, they had to put up this big wall is fascinating to me. I love it. And what is so interesting is look at this huge tree right on the edge, and it's pushing out the rocks. You go, okay, the day is going to come where that tree is going to come down, purposefully or Mother Nature's choice, and that wall is going to have to come with it. Then what do we do? Look at that. It's just bulging right out there. Look at that. Look how it's cracked all the way across from these trees' roots pushing it out. But it's been here since, that house was built in probably the early 40s, early to mid 40s. But I love that. I love looking at how nature just says, try to fence me in. I'll show you. Just give me 100 years. But look at that. It's fascinating. Look at it. You can't really tell as well in the video, but it goes like this as you're going down from where the tree has pushed it out. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. But, yep. It'll be interesting to see what happens there when the trees have finished their work. Now, I've never walked down Radar Drive. I've driven down it briefly. But I really like it because it's just a little strip of land. I mean, it's just a little strip of a road. And it's just got all the houses were built at the same time. And they're adorable. Look at this old stone. When they built that wall, see, I'd like to know, did the city back in the day build that wall? Or did the owner? I would guess maybe the developer of this street built that back then. But this is number 496, and look how beautiful it is sitting up there on the hill like that. And you can see Radar Drive just goes down to there. So you never have people really cutting through here unless they live here. And that's appealing. Oh, the sun's right in our eyes on the side of the street I wanted to show you. Oh, well. I hope you were enjoying this morning. I woke up and was like 37 degrees is a little much. But it is winter now, so be it. 492, how cute. I haven't looked these houses up, but I would guess this strip was built, I'm going to say 1942. I'm totally guessing. But I love that they're all the same, but they have just slight little differences. That one has dormer windows on it. Number 481. And then you look across the way, these houses are lovely too. They're a little bit, this one's exactly the same as that one, but they each have their own personality. Number 489 and number 485 Radar. It's so lovely. 484. Hear how quiet it is? Number 480. Gosh, that's cute. And then as we come up to Louise Street, this one on the corner, number 476. But isn't that a beautiful row of houses down Radar? Just idyllic. I would pick this street in a minute to live on. And then we've got Louise and Radar at the corner. This is number 3418 Louise, and a steep hill going down. Isn't that lovely? And then facing Louise Street. Good morning, Carrie. My friend Carrie from Iowa. This is 3421 Louise Street. So, Carrie, this, you may have noticed that I like taking walks around the town that Douglas and I live in. And one of the reasons I love doing it is because of just the small town feel of it. And it reminds me of Cedar Falls, where you live. It's beautiful like that. I do have to point this out. This is hilarious. Just in case we're looking for Woody. There he is, Fox News. He's missing, and thank you for all the reports to terrify all of us. But he's just up on the roof, doing a little sunbathing. Oh, it's a beautiful morning. Something I absolutely love and can appreciate so much since I spent the last 6 years in Manhattan is the trees. I love living where there's trees and grass and being able to stretch our arms out if we want to. And Hapeville allows us to do that. This is 485 again. So beautifully done. I just love seeing houses that are identical right next to each other, but they've got their own little design features. But isn't Radar a beautiful little street? I love it. I should have kept going that way because, yeah, I'm going to go back that way and go up Louise because I'm parked over there. Last week when I was taking a walk down Dorsey here in Hapeville, I love when this happens. I happened to have a couple people watching, Don and Beverly Miller, and I walked right by the house that they started their marriage in 1983. Just happened to be on that street. It made me so happy. Because I can imagine if I grew up in a town like this and I had as many memories as you all have here, I'd be sitting with bated breath watching these videos, waiting, going, oh, I remember this thing. I wonder if he'll walk by it. I can imagine that. I never got to live in any place for that long. However, when I did work for the Walt Disney Company, I was there for 23 years. Residence-wise, I moved around a lot. We're walking south on Louise to get back to my car. And so, if you go to a Disney park and you walk around, I watch with bated breath to see the video because I was there for almost 30 years and memories at every corner. There's a beautiful row of houses here. Good morning, puppy. Number 437. Look how beautiful that is with the sun hitting it. And they've got some nice roses in the front yard. Tamara says, good morning. That's my neighbor. You're so sweet to share. And I bet precious residents are so thankful. Thank you, Tamara. I just took Scout out and he's been fed and we played with the sock in the living room, so he's good. I'll go back again a couple times today. Tamara said to everybody she's a new resident and she loves the stories. Here's 3441. 3440. If any, whoops, sorry, I almost dropped my phone. If any of these places bring you any memories of people, places, things, events, feel free to let me know. You can instant message me or share it here in the comments. There's 3445, 3446. And we're walking towards Central Avenue, down where the train tracks are. Yeah, I have never actually walked this road. I've driven down it really quickly a couple times. Thank you, Tamara. 3449. And 3453. What's interesting is on this particular road, there's no infill, no new houses, which I like. All the old houses have survived. And what's interesting is with all of the remodeling and purchasing and flipping of homes here in Hapeville, here's an example of a street that hasn't had that happen yet. Look at it. Still looks like the 50s or even the 40s. These houses are in fairly good condition, but they haven't been all changed over yet. And I think that might be because of, by and large, this area is right behind a shopping center. And so I'm guessing that maybe a lot of these are still Hapeville family owned but rented. Here's 3461. I can't be sure of it, but that's my guess, that when people come in to buy, maybe they're not as eager to buy right behind the shopping center, and you're really close to the airport. So, I mean, it's quiet right now. But Louise Street is a street that I would, as beautiful as it is, I would probably think twice about living on this street, because in terms of Hapeville anyway, you can get a lot of cars coming down here, and then the shopping center is here, and as I mentioned, the airport. So we're going to be going up here and turning left in just a minute. I'm going to flip this around because there's a group of kids up there, and I never like to have the camera pointing at, even though you can if you're out in public, but I like to be courteous of groups of people so they don't feel like I'm filming them without their permission. But we're coming up to the corner of Louise Street and King Arnold, and I'm going to turn left on King Arnold. Now, I've mentioned this before. A lot of new folks don't know, and I was surprised about how many old folks from Hapeville never knew why they were like, I often get the question, who is King Arnold? Why is this named King Arnold? There was no King Arnold. That's the name of two early families here in Hapeville, the King family and the Arnold family. And there was a time where King was one street and Arnold was another, and they were kind of offset from each other. But back in the late 40s, they shifted it down the street there to be a thoroughfare all the way through, and just combined the names King and Arnold. So it's King Arnold now. But the King family, Samuel Hape had two daughters. One of them married into the King family. His other daughter married into the Arnold family. Hape was a mayor, of course, the first mayor of Hapeville. Some gentleman from the King family, I forget his first name, he was mayor, and there was an Arnold from the Arnold family who was mayor as well. Hapeville likes to keep it in the family. All right, now we're headed back towards my where my car is. Good morning, Carol. We're just taking a walk in this area of Hapeville now, since I had a pet sitting gig over here. So this corner lot is empty right here. I think some friends of mine just sold that. Not 100% sure. It's got a beautiful tree right here on the corner. Don't know what kind of tree that is, except old and craggy, and I love it. That is a big old lot. That is maybe you could squeeze 2 houses on it lot. I'm sure this will all get developed eventually too with townhomes. I didn't even pay attention to what business is in there. Do y'all remember anything that was ever in there? But we're headed back down the street. Oh, you didn't know that, Tamara? Yeah. It was fun figuring that out. I figured that out by going through the archives when I was at the Depot Museum as a volunteer. I could find out all kinds of stuff. Here's a plane coming in. So this is how close you are to the airport when you are living on this street. This is what we deal with in Hapeville every day. And when a newcomer comes and says, "It's so loud," the people that have been here all their lives, they go, "It sounds like money to me." Where'd it go? There you go. And then there's the airport. You can see the tower right there in front of that car. We're coming up close to 100 years that's been an airport. The city of Atlanta started leasing it in the year 1925. They had a 4 or 5 year lease at the beginning. And here we are 100 years later. That's where busiest airport in the world. All right. Well, that's it for this morning. Carrie says those steep hills in Iowa would be called sledding hills. Kids excitingly waiting for snow. Oh, I can imagine. How idyllic. Jim, he says, and I love it. That's my job. I believe Jim works for Delta. I've never heard somebody say I work for Delta and it sucks. So that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that they take care of their people. 3382. That's a plain looking little house, isn't it? All right. That is it for my walk this morning. I'm glad the live stayed live the entire time this time, and I'm glad I was able to find the live button. Carol says you don't pay any attention to the planes or the trains except when they aren't going, like 9/11. Oh, I bet it was very quiet. Yeah, I remember when the pandemic started, Douglas and I love to sit out on our porch. We have a screened-in porch. It's one of our favorite features of our house. And, the first year and a half that we were here pre-pandemic, we were like, wow, this is loud. And we got used to it. And we learned that it's louder in the winter because the trees are, naked of their leaves and sound travels right across the town. In the summer, you don't really have to worry about it so much. You just get used to it. And it's kind of romantic hearing the train horn at night, unless you live right next to it. But yes, when the pandemic started, we were like, wow, it sure did get quiet around here. And lots more birds were around. We remember that. It was fantastic. Don, I didn't know you were here this morning. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Please tell Beverly I said hello. Thank you all very much for joining me this morning. I was glad to get to this side of town. It's a beautiful day out. Douglas and I just finished our last show last night of the season. Many of you know that he and I put on shows. We're show producers, and it's too cold now. We do all of our shows outside, and it's too cold right now. So we did our show last night, and y'all, it was so cold and windy. But the audience was fantastic. We had a great time, and now we are ready to take a break. So we are committed from now through the month of December. I'm pretty much just going to be holed up in the house with my husband. We're going to be pet sitting, working on art, reading books. I don't know that I'll be doing many of these walks for the next few months because it's too frackin' cold, but I might pop up if a nice day shows up. My friend Kate was at the show last night. She said what a great show it was. Thank you, Kate. We really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed today's walk, and create yourself a great day today. And I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.